Hello and welcome to SAR Histories, where on the channel today we will be exploring Shugborough Estate in Staffordshire. Shugborough Estate is a stately home situated on the edge of Cannock Chase in Staffordshire, England, and is currently managed by the National Trust. The estate was owned by the bishops of Lichfield until the dissolution of the monasteries under King Henry VIII between 1536 and 1541. The building was sold several times until 1624, when William Anson purchased it for £1,000. William's grandson, who was also William, demolished the existing manor house in 1693 and constructed a three-storey building which forms the central part of the hall today. The hall would undergo further extensions under William's son, Thomas, in the 1740s, who added two pavilions flanking either side of the central block. It was Thomas's younger brother George who funded the construction, whom had amassed a great fortune during his naval career. Both the brothers would die childless, and the estate passed to George Adams, who adopted the surname Anson by royal licence. George's grandson Thomas, the second Viscount Anson, was created the first Earl of Lichfield in 1830. The Earl led an extravagant lifestyle and amassed huge debts. In order to pay them, he was forced to sell the entire contents of the house in 1842. By the time Thomas's son inherited the estate, the house was heavily mortgaged. The state dining room is one of the finest rooms in the house. Its opulence and prestige aggrandising the family's former wealth. After the death of the fourth Earl in 1960, the estate passed to the National Trust in lieu of death duties. The house opened to the public in 1966 and the estate was leased to Staffordshire County Council, who managed and maintained it on behalf of the National Trust, with Lord Lichfield retaining an apartment in the hall until his death in 2005. The sixth Earl relinquished the lease of the apartment, severing the family's direct link with the estate. Then, in 2016, Staffordshire County Council handed the estate back to the National Trust. On display inside are a collection of items taken from a Spanish ship in 1743 by George Anson. The ship carried gold and silver worth around £400,000. A number of these objects are still housed at Shugborough, including the Spanish captain's sword. The Red Drawing Room was a space used for entertaining, and in 1832 a young Princess Victoria and her mother were guests for 3 days at the estate and would have certainly been entertained here. It was after this visit that the first Earl began to realise just how much debt he was in, especially as the royal entourage had drunk 450 gallons of beer in just 3 days, something the Earl was expected to pay for. Sadly, filming upstairs is not allowed due to pictures on display that were taken by the 5th Earl being copyrighted. In the private apartments are the state bedroom, green sitting room, bathrooms, lilac and yellow bedrooms and the completely circular breakfast room. The household servants at Shugborough had their own quarters in which to eat, bathe and rest. There would have been a strict hierarchy, with the house steward and butler being at the top. The servants' quarters are adjacent to the mansion house and stable yard and consist of a kitchen, scullery, meat stores, laundry, harness room, coach houses, brew house, lamp and boat rooms, storerooms and servant hall. Servants shared 5 outside toilets and slept on the first floor, often with 5 or 6 being crammed into one room, with only senior staff having their own rooms. Cold water was used for personal washing, and fireplaces in the bedrooms were often unlit, causing them to be damp and cold. By today's standards, these living conditions are primitive, but back then they were acceptable. The servants' quarters are fascinating to explore and filled with objects that are alien to us today. In each room there is information about these objects, which gives you insight into the era from which they come from. Wandering through the many rooms gives you a sense of how much work went into the upkeep of the estate. It was like being in a time capsule where you could almost hear the servants at work. Dotted about were the volunteers, who each were knowledgeable and ready to answer any question you might have. But what I liked best were the plates that named servants and told how much they were paid. I enjoyed exploring the servants' quarters more than the house. For me, I felt more comfortable and at home, a kind of truth behind the facade of wealth and power. The Tower of Winds was built around 1765 and was originally surrounded by a village that has now been demolished. It was named Tower of Winds after the carvings that represent 8 wind deities around the top of the tower. The Park Farm was built around 1805 and was designed and built by Samuel Watt. It was built to harness modern machinery and methods combined with sound management to ensure long-term sustainability. The farm is a quadrangle of red brick buildings which form the farmyard. The farmhouse was sadly closed during my visit and I could only manage a peek in through the windows. The farmhouse was home to the farm bailiff and his family. It was far grander than most farmhouses of this period and has some stunning features designed for visitors to marvel at. Once fully operational, the farm was considered a model of efficiency, and the Viscount took pride and pleasure in welcoming local landowners to see his showpiece. Today you can get a sense of this marvel of agricultural efficiency in this walkthrough attraction, where you will see the tools of the time and learn about the farm during different seasons. It was fascinating to see the old tools and equipment, but for me I enjoyed the mill, which was used for grinding flour and processing animal feed. This mill was powered by water from the mill pond, which reduced the amount of labour needed. As you walk through, you get a real sense of a Victorian farm. Though silent now, you can almost hear the constant grinding and the turning of the mill wheel as water spilt over the buckets. Farm labourers were mostly unpaid apprentices. Instead of earning a monetary wage, farm labourers were given accommodation and meals in return for their work. Also, they drank a large quantity of beer, which was also considered part of their wage. The hoggeries were recreated in the 1980s just outside of the farm. The original, however, was in the centre of the yard. Along with the manor house and farm park, there are the grounds to explore. The ruins was built around 1750 and is thought to have been built of reclaimed stone from the mansion during its alterations. The Chinese house was completed in 1747 and is the earliest structure in the gardens. This house used to sit on an island with two wooden bridges leading to it, but following the flood of 1795 it became part of the garden. Following the same flood and the diverting of the river, an island was created. On this island stands the cat monument. The purpose of this monument is unclear, and it is thought that it was for George Anson's cat who sailed around the world with him. The Shepherd's Monument was finished in 1758 and is enigmatic and poignant. It is believed that Thomas Anson ordered its construction as he wanted to have a legacy that would endure long after his death. The walled garden had many cutting-edge technological innovations for its time, designed to capture maximum amount of sunlight. The red brick walls are hollow inside so that blasts of hot air could be sent around the garden to create a microclimate. There was also a number of greenhouses which were heated by steam, and soon the Anson family were eating fruits all year round. Shugborough Estate is a great place to explore and gives you a real sense of the past. If you have never been, it is worth a visit, and you can easily spend a day in awe at the level of splendour on display here. If you have enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you all again soon. Until then, goodbye.